Good evening, friends. Let us start our Astra, the daily current affairs of the Hindu. This is from the Hindu as well as PIB and Indian Express. So this is 25th October 2022. So the images that you see are those things which are in the current affairs recently. So let's start with our first discussion. Foreign Contributions Regulation Act and NGO is in news. Now, what is this? Recently, Ministry of Home Affairs has cancelled the license of two foundations which is belonging to Sonia Gandhi recently. Rajiv Gandhi Foundations and Rajiv Gandhi Charitable Trust. Now, in this context, you have to study about FCRA and NGOs. Now, so NGOs and FCRA are regulated. The NGOs in India are regulated under Foreign Contributions Regulation Act. That is what first thing you have to remember. And these two were alleged that they were involving in money laundering acts. So what is FCRA? FCRA was first enacted post-emergency. During the times of emergency, it was first enacted in the year 1976. Rather, later it was amended in 2010. It comes under Ministry of Home Affairs. In the year 2015, under Prime Minister Modi, this FCRA was amended again. New rules was issued. According to this, the acceptance of foreign funds is not likely prejudicially affect the sovereignty and integrity of India. If they are affecting this, then they cannot accept foreign deposits. Now, applicability. FCRA is applicable to all associations and groups and NGOs which tend to receive foreign donations. Whatever the association or whatever the group is, if they are receiving some funds from foreign countries, then FCRA applies to it, and it is mandatory for all NGOs to register themselves under FCRA, which is under Ministry of Home Affairs. Now, FCRA requires every person or NGO who is receiving foreign funds to be registered under the Act, and most important, they have to open a bank account, and that bank account should be in State Bank of India, Delhi branch. Very important, Delhi branch. They have to open their account in Delhi branch of State Bank of India. Next one. They also has to utilize funds only for the purpose for which they have been mobilized. They should not use it for some other activities. They should not mobilize the funds for one activity and they should not misuse it. That is the Act saying. And they have to annually file returns with Ministry of Home Affairs, and they must not transfer funds from one NGO to another NGO. So these are the main provisions of FCRA. There is probable question that they might ask. So FCRA is under Ministry of Home Affairs. Every NGO or a person who is receiving foreign aid, they have to register under FCRA. They have to open a bank account in State Bank of India in Delhi, and then they have to annually file returns. These are very important in order to get license. So it was enacted in 1976, as I said, during the times of emergency. Slowly, in the year 1984, mandatory for non-profits to register before receiving. So they make it mandatory. You have to get mandatorily registered. In the year 2010, FCRA 1976 was repealed and it was made stricter by having something called Foreign Contribution Regulation Act 2010 along with Foreign Contribution Regulation Rules of 2011. This is what they have revived, and FCRA Amendment Bill 2020 was formed. So this is what this is. Now, who cannot receive foreign contributions in India? Very, very important. FCRA restricts some people or some organizations in receiving the so-called foreign aid. Who are those? If you are contesting or if you are a candidate participating in elections, you cannot get foreign funds. Journalists or newspapers, media, broadcasting companies cannot involve in receiving foreign aid. Judges of the Supreme Court, High Court, government servants, members of the legislature, political parties or their office bearers, they cannot receive it. Organizations of political nature, political parties even cannot receive foreign contributions under this Act. So registration under FCRA, MHA inquires, Ministry of Home Affairs inquires through the Intelligence Bureau into the antecedents of the applicant and accordingly process the application. Because you have to get license from Ministry of Home Affairs, they will go for a background verification. Next, MHA is required to approve or reject the applications within 90 days. Within 90 days, they take a decision. Once it is granted, it will be valid for 5 years. Next, NGOs are expected to apply for a renewal within 6 months on the date of expiry of registration. If they fail to apply for renewal, their registration seems to be expired. So every 5 years they have to get this thing. So FCRA, there is one probable chance of asking the question. Ministry of Home Affairs, as per the new rules, every 5 years they have to get approval. This is the thing. The next article carried in Indian Express on how to protect Indian migrants. There has been massive reporting on exploitation of Indian labor in the Gulf. As a result, this thing has come. So globally, as per International Migrants and Remittances report, as per International Migrants and Remittances, India is the largest country in the world which has global migration to the maximum and receiving global remittances. Very, very important. India ranks first in this. And 50% of our Indian migrants are located in Gulf countries, right? Totally, we have around 13.4 million non-residential Indians, and in this 64% live in Gulf countries. That is what it is been. So that is something which will be useful for your prelims, not for prelims, for mains. Now recently there is one movie called Kantara movie. In this Kantara movie, there is one news that is called Bhutha Kola. The term is Bhutha Kola. Right, you must have seen even in the so-called Arundhati movie, where there will be some people who will be controlling the devils and everything. So Bhutha Kola is highlighted because of this movie called Kantara. So what is Bhutha Kola? That is what you have to understand. Bhutha Kola is a ritual performance where local spirits and local deities are worshipped. Local spirits and local population is worshipped. This is as per Bhutha Kola. Now what they believe is, they believe that persons performing the ritual has temporarily become a god. In Telugu you call Ammora Avahinchindi అనేసి అంటుంటాం. So this is known as Bhutha Kola. Now why this is important for your prelims? Not as such because it is given in newspaper in a Kantara movie. No, there is something which is related to this, that is called the Tulu speaking belt of Dakshina Kannada and Uttara Kannada and Udupi districts. These Bhutas are worshipped. Bhutha Kolas are worshipped. So Tulu speaking belt of Dakshin Kannada. So this is in South Karnataka and North Karnataka. So have a look at it. So Bhutha Kolas are worshipped there. What is Bhutha Kola? Bhutha Kola means people behaving as if God has come inside them. Next, it has influence of Yakshagana folk theatre. Yakshagana folk theatre is the folk theatre of Karnataka. So remember, it has its relevance there. Drums and music give company to the dancing and puja rituals, right? This is called Bhutha. Now, after this, that is important for culture side. Now, RBI is monitoring banks. Obviously, RBI will be monitoring banks. Why this is in news? There is one news called, there is one bank called Dhanalakshmi Bank. Dhanalakshmi Bank failed to maintain capital to risk weighted assets. So its capital to risk weighted assets are decreasing, or CRAR is decreasing. As a result, it came under RBI's direct supervision now. Direct supervision means it is keeping in ICU of RBI, right? Observation lo pettadam jarigindi. Now, what is the role of RBI in functioning of the banks? Very important. RBI regulates banks through which act? Banking Regulation Act of 1949. Banking Regulation Act of 1949 helps the banks to regulate, helps the RBI to regulate it. Very important. Which act they will ask? The act is Banking Regulation Act of 1949. Now, RBI has also to regulate this. Why they have to regulate? These banks have to meet some norms. What are those norms? Basel norms, CRR norms, SLR norms, etc. What are these Basel norms, CRR, SLR? That is concepts of economy that we will be discussing. Capital to risk weighted ratios or capital adequacy ratio means a bank's financial stability by measuring available capital as a percentage of risk weighted credit exposure. Now they are explaining what is capital to risk weighted assets. Imagine this: capital to risk weighted assets. Now, what is risk-weighted assets? Whatever the loans that a bank gives, that is called assets to bank. Assets to bank are loans given by bank to customers is assets. Now these assets carry a risk of default. For example, the assets that was given to Vijay Mallya has become default. So in order to secure this risk, you have to keep certain buffers in the bank. The bank has to maintain some capital, that is called CRAR. So this is what the concept is. Further concepts we will discuss in economy. Now, under the Basel norms, very important, Basel norms are international standards. So the minimum CRAR to be 9% or higher. Now, as a result, India has to maintain this CRAR to maintain confidence in the market. But Dhanalakshmi Bank, NPA is increasing, but CRAR has decreased. As a result, RBI took direct observation. Now, what is Basel norms? These norms are set by the member countries of Bank of International Settlements to ensure global financial stability. Basel norms are the norms set by global banks. Global banks means banks at the global level, that is RBI, Federal Bank of USA. So they will come and they will invest in, they will discuss and they will determine what should be the thing. Next, leave it. Next one is prompt corrective action framework. Under this, what RBI does is they classify risks into three types. The higher risk, the higher is the number, the higher is the risk. So all commercial banks and non-deposit taking NBFCs are covered under PCA. We'll discuss all this when I am discussing about banking problems in India. Now, exit from PCA norms is possible only if no breach is detected in 4 consecutive quarters. Leave it, that is not that much important. There was one institutional called, next news is, there is one institution in the country that is called NAREDCO, National Real Estate Development Council. National Real Estate Development Council. Why this council is formed? This is formed by, very important, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. NAREDCO is formed by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. What is the purpose of this NAREDCO? 1. It will focus on financing the projects which would fulfill the practical requirements of construction real estate. So in order to have real estate developers, in order to have money in real estate, this is financing committee. So if I want to construct some Indira Gandhi Awas Yojana, some houses under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, then I require some money. That money can be pulled by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs under this finance committee called as NAREDCO. So remember just these things. Housing and Urban Affairs, why it is formed? For financing the housing projects. This is the thing. After this, in yesterday's news, the Hindu carried something called InvITs. InvITs, Infrastructure Investment Trust. Infrastructure Investment Trusts are called InvITs. Now what is this InvITs? In order to start a business, whatever the capital that is required for long-term projects, whatever the capital that is required, you can get it through some people, and that people are known as InvITs. Infrastructure Investment Trust. Right. So this is just this. Government of India recently is using this method to capture this InvITs. Now, InvITs are regulated by SEBI. Now, unlike mutual funds are concentrating on financial securities, whereas real infrastructural assets are focused on InvITs. What is this difference? We'll discuss later. But for now, you remember, InvITs just focuses on real infrastructure, whereas mutual funds focuses on financial security. How do InvITs work? The InvITs work on portfolio of infrastructure assets. Say for example, there is one national highway which is constructed between Hyderabad and Bengaluru. For this national highway, government requires money. As a result, it will establish one InvITs, which means a trust. And those who are interested to keep money in this, they can go and keep. These people are called as long-term infrastructure investors. Right? Why long term? Because construction of a road from Hyderabad to Bangalore takes place around 5 years or 6 years. So for long term, long gestation period, you have this project called InvITs. Remember that. Next one is, there was an observation recently in India about sugarcane production, and the observation is sugarcane production in India is shifting from South India to North India. Sugarcane production in India is shifting from South India to North India, and this was observed between 2011 and 2020. In the last 10 years, 6 sugarcane producing North Indian states saw 42% increase in their output, while that of 5 southern states declined 32%. Now, what are the reasons for this shift of sugarcane from the so-called south to the so-called northern belt? What is the reason? The reason is, every state in the North India, almost all state is giving state advisory prices. Now, what are state advisory prices? For sugarcane, central government announces fair and remunerative prices. What is this fair and remunerative prices? This is an equivalent of minimum support price. For other grains, for almost 24 crops, you have minimum support price. For sugarcane, you have fair and remunerative price. What is minimum support price? Say, for example, for producing some plant, for producing some grains, the minimum amount that the farmer has kept, right? Say, for example, I am producing rice and I produce 10 kgs of rice. To produce 10 kgs of rice, it costed me 400 rupees. But when I take to the market, I cannot get assured income. Why? Market will be very volatile. Some days it can be more than 400 rupees, some days it can be less than 400 rupees value. As a result, I may be kept into some problem here because of market volatility. In order to support farmers from market volatility, before sowing season of every crop, government announces minimum support price, and it says that, say for example, a farmer has kept 400 rupees in the production of rice, government will give minimum price of 500 in the market if the market value is decreasing below 500. నేను పండించిన పంట కంటే మార్కెట్లో ధర తక్కువగా ఉంటే గవర్నమెంట్ వచ్చి ఆ ధర నాకు ఇచ్చేస్తుంది. నేను పండించిన దానికంటే కొంచెం ఎక్కువగా పెట్టి గవర్నమెంట్ నాకు ఇస్తుంది. దీన్ని ఏమంటామంటే మినిమం సపోర్ట్ ప్రైస్, సపోర్ట్ టు ద గవర్నమెంట్, support to the farmer by government. Now this is for the grains. Now the same thing is for sugarcane. For sugarcane you use another term called fair and remunerative prices. These fair and remunerative prices are given by central government. Now some states, apart from fair and remunerative government, they also give some extra price. They also give some extra thing that is called state advisory prices on and above the fair and remunerative. Say for example, my food grain production is 400. Say sugarcane I have produced 400, and central government announced fair and remunerative price 500, and state gives one more 100 and they say 600. So that is called state advisory price. This is like some support mechanism by the state governments and central governments to boost sugarcane. Now the state advisory prices is being given by northern states more and more these days. As a result, they are flourishing. As a result, it was shifted. Now what is this FRP? FRP is fixed under Sugarcane Control Order. How FRP came? Sugarcane Control Order in 1966. It is the minimum price that sugar mills are supposed to pay to the farmers. Who will pay? Sugar mills will pay to the farmer. However, who will determine this? See for example, however, states will determine their state agreed prices. State advisory prices or state agreed prices will be determined by the respective state governments. Usually it will be higher than FRP. Now this is, the study is said by NSO that the sugarcane production in India is shifting from southern belt to the northern belt. This is studied by NSO. Now some facts about NSO. NSO earlier, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, has two bodies. One is CSO and another one is NSSO. Today they were merged together and they were formed as NSO. In 2019 they merged, and this is about NSO. Next, Basmati rice is in news. Basmati rice is produced in Jammu and Kashmir, Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh. In the North Indian states, Basmati rice is produced. But if you look at other rice, where it is being produced and what is the conditions that are required for production of rice. In order to produce rice in India, you require a temperature of 22 to 32 degrees centigrade. 22 నుంచి 32 డిగ్రీల సెంటిగ్రేడ్ యొక్క ఉష్ణోగ్రత ఉండాలి బియ్యం పండించాలంటే, వరి పండించాలంటే. Annual temperature of annual rainfall should be 150 to 300 centimeters. Deep clayey soils and loamy types of soils are good for rice cultivation. Very important, top rice producing countries in the states are West Bengal, followed by Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh and Bihar. West Bengal, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Bihar. 3 crops of paddy are growing in a year: Os, Aman and Boro. In states like Assam, West Bengal and Odisha, 3 crops of paddy are grown. They might ask these terms, so remember these terms. This is called rice climatic conditions for producing the crop called rice. The next one is the top 10 rice producing countries in the world. No need to remember the top 10. Remember, China is the largest producer of rice in the world, followed by India and followed by Southeast Asia. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Just remember that. Next, maps that were in news. You have a place called Dharavi in Mumbai. Now, the Maharashtra government has taken a project that is called Dharavi Redevelopment Project. Dharavi is the area, you might have seen a businessman movie of this man, Mahesh Babu, right? He comes to Mumbai and he stays in a place called Dharavi, right? So someone is saying screen is not visible. Can you please check whether the screen is visible or not? So Dharavi is a place which is located in Mumbai. Now that rehabilitation plan is, redevelopment plan of Dharavi is going to take place. Now this is under Slum Rehabilitation Authority project, right? So almost 50% of Mumbaikars are living in slums. Recently, Xi Jinping became the Communist Party of India. Third term he has taken up his role, right? Now he has become the president for unprecedented time. That is, in the history of China, he is the second person to become successively for 3 times, or you can call this as lifetime president for China. So, in the 20th Congress of the Communist Party of China, he was elected, right? So, this is one thing. The only person before him was Mao Zedong, the founder of modern day China. So after this, Xi Jinping has become him. Now, Sukha Paika River is in news. Now, why it is in news? Actually, Sukha Paika River has been stopped flowing 70 years ago, but recently, National Green Tribunal, there is one tribunal called NGT. NGT asked the state government to regenerate it, Sukha Paika River, to rejuvenate it, and this is the first time that an NGO has asked for regenerating a river. Now, what is this Sukha Paika River? Sukha Paika River is a small river which is the branch of Mahanadi River. Mahanadi is the 3rd largest peninsular river in India after Godavari and Krishna. Godavari is the largest peninsular river in India, followed by Krishna, and Mahanadi is the 3rd. Mahanadi is the largest river in Odisha state. Now, what is the catchment area of this Mahanadi River? It extends to Chhattisgarh. It goes to Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, Jharkhand and Maharashtra. Have a look in map pointing this river. So, Sukha Paika River is in news. So, they might ask this question. So, this is Sukha Paika River. Next one is, there is an optical telescope called Sampurnanand Optical Telescope. Sampurnanand Telescope has completed its 50 years of operation. That is why it is in news. Now they will ask, where is this located? This is located in Nainatal district of Uttar Pradesh. Now what is this observation? This is in Nainatal in Uttar Pradesh. It is famously installed in 1972. Now what is the benefits of this? It has discovered the rings of planet Uranus, additional rings around Saturn, and gamma ray outbursts and micro lensing events. So just remember, discovery of rings of Uranus and additional rings around Saturn was found out by this organization, that is called Sampurnanand Optical Telescope. Recently, something called Nobel Prize was achieved or given to those persons who has studied about Neanderthal. They will ask this. Neanderthal is in news. What is this? Neanderthal are human beings who are present much before the modern day human. If the modern day human is this, right? Neanderthals were this. For this, they have achieved the so-called Nobel Prize. This year, Nobel Prize was given for the study of this Neanderthals DNA. They have studied this DNA of that persons. Now, who were Neanderthals? They were the members of a group called Arctic humans. These humans lived in Eurasia before 2 lakhs to 24,000 years ago. That is, in the Pleistocene period, they have been survived. So in the Pleistocene approach or epoch, they have been survived. That is called Neanderthals. Now, according to recent theories, they were wiped out or merged into larger Homo sapien group. Now, what do recent studies of DNA of this Neanderthals say? They say that they lived in groups of 14 to 20 members. Now, majority of the evidences say that Neanderthals migrated. 60% of the female members in Neanderthals were migrated from elsewhere. Earlier they thought that it is men who migrated, but it is women who migrated. Now they have something called their elements. They have their elements, skeletons buried in their coffins. Now relating to these terms, you have two things, that is called, look at this, Chagireskova, Okladenikova. Chagireskova, Okladenikova. What are those? Those are limestone caves in Russia. Limestone caves in Russia. Chagireskova, Okladenikova. Next, coalescence time. It is the time gap indicating how far in the past their most recent ancestor lived. Very, very important term. Look at the term. Coalescence time, which means how far in the past their most recent, say for example, if there is an individual, their recent ancestors, how far they lived. This time period is known as coalescence period or coalescence time. So they will ask these terms. Neanderthals are from Eurasian region. Chegriskova, Oklandiskova are limestones in Russia. Now what is this coalescence period? It is the time gap indicating how far in the past their recent ancestor lived. So this is the current affairs of today, right? You can just have a look at it. I'll upload this in our group. You can have a look at it. So this is about current affairs for the day. I'll be continuing with